Dr. Harper, you were correct in your testimony that our committee does not have direct jurisdiction over the State Department or the Department of Homeland Security. However, the Higher Education Act does authorize various programs that does promote exchange students and international, cross-pollination in our higher education programs with countries all over the world. And, strictly from just a pure monetary standpoint, there's about 1 million international students that are enrolled in the U.S. That's about $41 billion in terms of revenue. The Department of Commerce actually treats that tuition money as an export for the purposes of our trade balance. And obviously, I think, as you, I'm sure, can attest, the policies of this administration, which has pretty much shut down the visa availability for students wanting to enroll in the U.S. And then just on Monday, announcing that ICE is going to actually deport students from this country whose schools who are offering online programs. Just really kind of flies in the face of what we're hearing today about the fact that, we need a regulatory structure that needs to be flexible given the COVID emergency, and just also, recognize that online virtual learning, partly because of necessity, but also partly because of value, as we just heard from Mr. Pulsifer, is something that, we are in a place right now where we have to incorporate it, and having these arbitrary policies that are actually now talking about deporting people, really puts, I think, educators in an impossible position about sort of having to balance things like, staying on the right side of the federal government and try to protect their students. So I was wondering, again, if you could touch on that number 10 point that you mentioned in your opening remarks, and really how we have to look at it in the whole picture holistically in terms of the challenge we're facing right now for higher education.
Sure. I really appreciate you affording me an opportunity to talk through that 10th point. It's really important. Those policy actions are not only arbitrary, as you've noted, but they're also, I'm afraid, xenophobic and xenophobic. I wrote that particular consideration in my written testimony before we got the news on Monday about the ICE deportations. I somehow had a scary suspicion that this administration would find some way to target Chinese students and international students from other countries. It is so important to note that international students make our colleges and universities better. They afford American students the opportunity to interact with people who bring diverse viewpoints. So many colleges and universities articulate in their mission statements a commitment to preparing students for citizenship in a global democracy. Well, if that's the case, we need international students here, to afford our students, that kind of learning opportunity. But we also, I think it is important to, push against, all of the, xenophobic and xenophobic actions that we're seeing in this administration. And, these most recent actions concerning, ICE and the deportation of international students is just ridiculous. They require stronger federal oversight.
Thank you. I mean, we've had a lot of press in Connecticut about student athletes. I think the NCAA calculates there's about 20,000 international students as part of the NCAA. Gina Auriemma, the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame coach, was in the press talking about 3 student athletes that are in his program, one from Croatia, one from Poland, and one from Canada, who are now basically unable to get into the country. But to his credit, I mean, he pointed out in the press, and I'm quoting him now, not just athletes, but kids who are enrolled here going to school. What is the issue here? Why can't we get that resolved? So what? Because they don't make $20 million a year playing in the NBA or Major League Baseball, the NHL? Because obviously ICE has waived and allowed visas for athletes who are in professional sports, but not in college sports. So again, we're just sort of dealing with these contradictions. that are, again, putting pressure on campuses to reopen more than maybe it's safe, given where they're located, as well as creating these different classes of people from overseas that can actually come here and enrich our country. So thank you for your testimony. And with that, I yield back, Susan.
Thank you very much.